Hello, we are the Voices of Experience, four pals from Toronto, Canada. All of us with quite a few miles traveled already down life's highway. While that may not translate directly into voices of wisdom, we can promise you an entertaining half hour of discussion on a wide range of topics of current interest. So, sojourn with us for a while. You'll hear a variety of points of view. You'll be amused, you'll be provoked, you'll be stimulated. And now it's my pleasure to pass the word across to Mario.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew, and welcome everybody. I'd like to say hello to everybody who's listening and watching us. And I'd like to introduce the other participants that are part of this. Of course, you heard from Andrew Wood. We've got Al Brown. Wave, there you go. And we've got Sarab Sandhu over there. Wave again. Thank you very much, everybody, for being a part of it. And yes, we will stimulate you, but we will also discuss how we can make you rich today. That's right. We're talking about money, 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 the great money. But we're going to take it to a different extent. Instead of the bills and coins and all these little things that we use in our pockets that weigh down our pockets, we're going to talk about a cashless society. And we may even take it to some extremes. So stay tuned and be a part of this conversation with us. And I'd like to open it up with this particular aspect of it. We have been moving systematically through the years away from cash. The reason being that, yes, Andrew, away from cash. It is a scary thing. The reason is because a lot of it had to do with the expense of making money, coins especially. I mean, in Canada, we got rid of the penny because it was costing more than the actual value of it. Counterfeiting was also an issue through the years that a cashless society may impede from continuing on. But I'd like to ask Al Brown this question here as we begin this podcast. Al, where do you see in your own personal life the transition from from actual money, tangible money, to cashless affecting you?
Well, thank you, Mario. My transition began, I guess, a few years ago. I've always had a history of liking to have a lot of actual physical cash on me and using it to pay my bills. And there's a certain logic to it. I figure if you don't give a physical record of your cash movements, you can remain anonymous in society. But, it's very difficult to be anonymous that way because I have a credit card and I do use it. And I just decided over the last few years to start using it almost exclusively, such that now I almost use no cash whatsoever. Now, there were some impediments for me because I work in a company that has been a little bit backward on it. They still gave us paper paychecks. I mean, most of the time now you get a direct deposit. Well, the pandemic forced our company to start doing direct payments into employees' bank accounts. So I don't have to go to the bank anymore to deposit money, and I don't have to do it to pay my checks. I pay my bills. I don't have to use it to pick up cash because I don't need any cash. So my experience has been a slow transition from a position of depending heavily on cash and feeling good about walking around with a couple $100 in my pocket to now where I think, well, why have any cash at all? And I have to say one other thing about this. One of the benefits that I see about it is that we can better control how we spend money. And the thing is, there's two ways you can make money and you can get rich in this world. Firstly, you can make money, and secondly, you can save it. And one lesson that some rich people have taught me a long time ago is you don't get rich giving your money to somebody else. So that's been my experience so far.
Right, and I agree that it has impacted business quite a bit these days, and especially with the pandemic, people are feeling uncomfortable about touching money. So you
Yeah.
go into a place and you can't really give them money. They're saying no, 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 just credit card or touch or whatever. Andrew, have you had that kind of an experience, and how has it affected your life?
Yeah, well, of course, well, that's the thing, you know, as long as we're in COVID-19, what I do is actually I take up my phone here, Google Pay, and I just hover it near the terminal, and somehow the magic happens. I don't even have to pay for it. It goes somewhere into the ether. Maybe it's on my credit card or something, but I don't look at such things. I want no, you know what? My personal experience. I'll tell you. Um, I'll relate it to my first trips to China in 2004, 2005. And in those days, China was cash. But people were carrying around wads of cash. And I mean wads of cash. I'm showing you with my fingers what a typical stack of bills might have been in somebody's pocket. It was all cash. And there was nothing else. And I did go back there just a year ago to teach in the fall. Cash was nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. No, it was all done through WeChat. And there's another topic, by the way, for the future is that whole thing. But it was a remarkable change. Yeah. And I don't use cash. I mean, when do I use cash? For small purchases once in a while. I might carry $20 with me or something, but generally no. So I'm a fan of the cashless, but you know what? I find it hard to keep track of my spending, and I don't really look at the details, and I don't tend to go into my bank account online. And it's all magic numbers somehow. It's all gone somewhere. You know, that's the danger of it for me, because I'm not a person who follows his finances closely. So that's a danger of it, really, I think. Yeah.
You know, Andrew, you reminded me of something my father used to do back in the 80s. He used to carry a wad of money, like you described, right? And they were all $1 bills inside. And what he would do on the outside, he would put $100 bill, and he just flash it to people, and people thought he was the richest man around, you know. But we're going, and since I went back to the 80s, Sarah, I want to ask you this. How have you seen the transition over the past 2 or 3 decades, let's say, in your particular life? Because I know you're in business yourself. How have you seen the transition of us going from cash to cashless? And do you think that it's helped you or impeded you in your business?
Well, welcome all and listening to us. I would like to take you the year 1962, when I spent 1 full year in the village. And I would like to say I didn't see the face of money at all. I did everything I could. Everything was a barter trade. You wanted some ice cream, give them some grain. You wanted something, you exchange something else. And in the olden days, if you go further also, the wealth was the goats and the bulls and the animals. They were the wealth. Now you can't carry it around, so they made it easier to make cash. And now I was in this business of money transfer, where we dealt with a lot of cash. And of course, terrorist funding and all those things required FinTrack regulations. They wanted to make a cashless society for remittance right in before the 9/11 problem in 1999. They wanted to, because they were losing a lot of revenue. When you're sending money and you're not paying taxes on that, they're losing 17%. This is unpaid taxes. So, and you know the volume of money going through our system in the whole of North America was around $50 billion a year. $50 billion from North America alone. You know?
That's all.
Okay, it goes to the bank, and but mostly it used to, at least 20 billion used to go to the cash way. And now, of course, it's become less nowadays, as Andrew says, using phones to pay. Even the money remittance business become very easy. You can load somebody's phone via email somewhere else, and they can go and pay bills and everything else. Now, as you rightly say, I also like to walk around with cash. And nowadays, even if you don't have it, it's okay. But if you go to the village, all your cashless society is useless, because if you go along the way, if the terminal doesn't work or something happens, you can't conduct any business. But having said that, this is not going to, later on, I see in the future, more than the thing, you're going to get a chip. Everybody's going to get a chip. And the chip will be loaded with all what your money is, or you're going to pay. So you just do this and they deduct it. So money will lose its value. It won't be there. It is a need-based exchange system which is going to be left behind.
Now he sent me, I don't know about you guys, but Sarah, just some chills up and down my body, because part of, and I don't want to get religious on you, but part of the book of Revelations is the Antichrist giving you a chip, so you're walking around to buy your particular products and all that. But leaving that aside right now, and that scary image, let me bring you something to even more pragmatic today, and a bit scary too. And that is security when it comes to a cashless society. Because let's put it this way: we have money that people can, forge or whatever with tangible cash. But with cashless society, we have the hacking aspect of it being a problem. How do you guys see society? Now, I'll open it up to anybody who wants to comment on this. How do you guys see society overcoming the dangers of somebody hacking into your account and taking away all your money, and you have no way of basically controlling what's going on?
Mario, one comment I would like to say on that, and it goes to something that was in the news a little while ago. It said that everybody is about one paycheck away from being broke. In other words, they're living from paycheck to paycheck. So most of us don't have hardly any money in the bank anyway. And a lot of people are up to their eyeballs in debt. I think the national debt is about $170,000 per person. Most of that is mortgage. But the people that really have to worry about getting their accounts hacked are those that are frugal and are willing to save money for whatever reason. Now, to me, the security thing may not be such a big deal in that regard, because the banks generally at the moment provide us with security insofar as if money is stolen from your bank account, the banks will usually cover it. Mostly it's their fault. And we do have the deposit insurance system for this country that's been around for almost 100 years, that protects up to $100,000 in each bank account that you have. So in that regard, hacking I don't think is a big security, but what I see is what Andrew has said, is not knowing where your money is and not having control on it. There's a greater risk that we will probably spend our brains out and then put ourselves into a situation where we just can't continue.
Well, and you're right, because when you really look at how money is these days, there used to be a standard that you used to follow. We used to call it the gold standard, where money was actually backed up by something tangible, right? And now money is being printed without any collateral behind it. And it becomes just a number all of a sudden with nothing really substantial behind it. Yes, Andrew, comment on that. Yeah. You're muted, Andrew.
I feel that very substantially. I feel like I don't really have control over the money that's in my bank account, because, I mean, let's face it, the lifelong, I'm not bragging, I'm admitting ruefully that I have not been an expert handler of my own money. And in fact, the opposite, if anything. And so, I offer my telephone around for my groceries and my purchases and so on, but I am not closely watching what my credit card balance is. I'm not closely watching what my bank account balance is. I've just set up my credit card to pay itself automatically on the day that it's due, you know. And I might go into my credit card account like once every couple of months just to kind of look it over and get an overview of what's happening. And then there's been more than once where, you know, I see charges that I have no idea where that charge came from, and I can't identify that. And there are leeches out there who are perfectly well prepared to take advantages of foolish consumers like myself and just, you know, and just work as parasites on the system. Unless you're careful, you know, this whole cashless society has a real downside for people like me.
Well, it also takes us to another thing, which is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right, which is another aspect of it. And Sarah, but I'd like you to comment on Bitcoin. Do you see how do you see that? Because that is basically uncollateralized money, right?
You see, cryptocurrency or bitcoins and other types of currencies, these are here to stay. This is the future of currency, when there'll be no notes printed. This, as you say, the last thing, you have the fiat currencies. First, the US dollar was pegged against gold. Then now it's pegged against US military, crude oil, and all the wars. That's why they keep doing that, because the US dollar is pegged and the oil is pegged against the US dollar. That's why they want all this hulchal, all these problems happening around the world, because the dollar keeps up. But with the crypto, I have real experience, because I bought some Bitcoins and it went up very nicely. And suddenly somebody hacked that account, not my account, that main account where I had invested, and they lost about $26 million. So my money also went away with that. So this is here to stay, and there are, I don't know how they hack it, because it's so difficult to hack. It's supposed to be very difficult, but blockchain is here to stay. Blockchain is not only money, it is everything else. You're going to have it's the next thing after internet. When the blockchain really works, it's going to change the way we do things. The money, the contracts, everything else, even buying houses. You don't need a real estate agent. Somebody is selling it, somebody is buying it, and there's a contract done.
Yeah.
So I think that's, Mario, I think that's unnecessary complication. Now, if we went back to hard currency, well, you get a dollar bill or a $50 bill or a $100 bill, it's there, it's solid, just like Bitcoin. The problem that we're running into with, as Sarab says and you say, with regards to printing of paper money and all that, would be obviated if they said, fine, we're not going to print any more money, and this is it. This is the security. And there would be no way to hack the money that's in your house or in your pocket. Well, they could steal it, but by robbery, but that's always been the case. The point about Bitcoin is that they only make so much of it, so it holds its value. But, you know, it's overly complicating the whole system.
And it is also open to hacking, because let's put it this way: in order for you to be able to, there's something called bit mining, right? If you mine it, and then all of a sudden it's like, so if you can create code to get mining or to make Bitcoin out of that, you can very easily hack it, because you're a code person to begin with. So it opens that danger up very much as well. But let me ask you this: with actual cash society, there has been a move lately to consolidate different economic zones. We have the Eurozone. We tried with the euro being their particular coin of choice, or I guess a currency of choice, I should say. In North America, there was some flirtation with creating something known as the Amero, which was the Canadian US dollar and the Mexican peso being combined together under one currency. Do you see that move as something that is good for society?
Well, I would like to say that in future, you will only have one currency in the world, which will be any exchange, and that will be working in the whole world. It's going to happen one world, one government, one currency, one religion, everything is going to be one. And that's what we're aiming for. And this pandemic is starting that process. You know,
Yeah.
this one is going to be one currency, and it can be digital, and they're not going to spend money making money. And that is the future way ahead.
One of the issues with regards to having a currency is there's a lot of national independence behind it. If you have your own currency, then you can manage your own economy. But if you're dependent on somebody else's money, you are their vassal state.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I agree there, because Greece, from the perspective of Greece, they lost the drachma and they became forced in many ways to increase prices to follow the Eurozone economic policies. So they did lose their identity because of that. And I see that very much now. Yeah, Andrew,
it sounds like a wonderful ideal, and it is a great ideal, one world, one humanity. But I don't see that happening quickly or easily, because that would be so fraught. You've got so many poverty-stricken countries in the world, notably, Africa and Asia, where a couple of dollars a day is what you can expect to earn. And to merge those economies in one world currency, that's a far off goal, I think, isn't it?
But that's the primary goal. That's happening. It's happening.
But let me take it a little bit further, and this is going to be controversial. And I did raise it in the past session that we've had, and that is, what if we were to go to no money, a society that has no valuation of anything? How would we be able? How would that society look? I'd like you guys to kind of conceptualize that kind of an environment.
It's the same society as the Star Trek.
As a what?
As Star Trek. Remember in the Star Trek, they didn't have any money. They went from place to very high technology. They had everything. They didn't need money. Everything was there. Computer, Earl Grey.
There you go.
We don't need money.
Yeah.
We don't need money if our wants and needs are taken care of. Right. If housing is provided to us and food is provided to us and all of that, I don't know,
Well, it's not us which are saying that. You look at Brave New World, written by Atlas Huxley in 1890. He talks about the future when there was no money, everybody's looked after, everybody's happy, and because the computers are doing, or the robots are doing all the job. This is going to happen. And everybody, this is going to happen, but it's not happening in our lifetime. We're witnessing the start of it.
Right. But, and this is the thing too, right? And I know we're talking futuristically here, but if nothing has value, right? Because we add value to it, we add value to our labor, we add value to this pen, to this house, whatever it is. But if it has no value, if you're not thinking about a Mercedes versus a Hyundai or whatever it is, then all of a sudden it just becomes transportation with absolutely no value. The symbol, the emblem of the Mercedes doesn't play into anything anymore, because it has no value. So who cares whether you're driving a Mario or an Andrew car? Right?
Well, I just heard you put down my car there, Mario, and I don't appreciate it.
No, the Mario car is the low end.
And there's Al Brown. He's grinning because he's got a Mercedes. So you just gave him, I don't know. So okay, so I'm going to sulk for the next minute or two.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Mario, if there's in any society where there are resource constraints, and we've never had a society without them, there's going to be differentials, there's going to be competition between people for goods and services. And if there isn't competition for goods and services, there's competition for social status. Like, for example, a troop of monkeys, baboons, chimpanzees, and that, there's always a hierarchy. There's a top male, a top female, a bunch of secondary and social status wannabes at the top, and then there's a bunch of others that just run around doing monkey things because they don't have any chance at power. We can get rid of the resource issue, but we still have the issue of our social behavior to contend with. And right now, our social behaviors or our social status is defined by how much we have and what we can buy with it.
Right. Well, what if we were to flip that? Okay, and again, since we're talking futuristically here and it's a hypothetical, but it's worth discussing. What if we were to change the way we look at things from being a what's in it for me society to us flipping around and saying, what's in it for you? What can I do for Andrew? What skill sets do I have? What educational background do I have? My children, when they're growing up and going through school, what can they contribute to society for no money? I mean, we really devalue human ingenuity when we turn around and we say that human beings, the only reason we exist is to make money in this world.
Yeah.
And that is such a devaluing concept of our sentience. You know, so what if we were to flip that around and basically say that I am offering to society my contribution as a doctor? First of all, lawyers, forget lawyers. They would not be required anymore. Would there be disputes? Maybe. But, you know, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, Lord, hasten the day. Lord, hasten that day. Except there's one issue, and the issue is human nature. Human nature, simply, you know what, we're competitive animals, and we are going to find a way to compete with each other and status and all of that. Now, money is the way we do it now. So if you're going to get rid of the money, then you can't ignore the fact that there are just some people, not some people, all of us, we're in a mad scramble to climb to the top. That's just what we do as creatures. And so money is our convenient shorthand, of course, for winning that particular scramble. So what are you going to replace that with? If you're going to take away the money, Mario, how are you going to replace that?
Well, you won't need it because value of money is your survival, your basic needs, the basic hierarchy needs that we all talk about many times. They're going to be met. So it becomes not much of a survival thing as it becomes more of how to expand your ability and your knowledge and your contribution to society. And as far as human nature is concerned, as human beings, we have the ability to take ourselves out of that animalistic life that we have, that those basic drives. I mean, look at the ancient Greeks. They would be fighting, you know, Sparta and Athens would be fighting against each other. And at some point, the Olympics every 4 years would come around and they would stop fighting and go and compete and throw the javelin and do spear and whatever else they did. Why can't we get our urge to compete that way and not through putting Andrew down and stumping on his head so that I can be the boss and I can, that I can then fear somebody else taking my position and dying from a coronary at 65 because I'm afraid Al Brown will take my job away from me.
Mario, I think we're a long way from having the sort of idealistic society that you have, but we are sort of moving in that direction insofar as nowadays we do try and be more inclusive with society. People who with disabilities are frequently allowed now or encouraged to get into competitions like sports. There's the Paralympics as well as the regular Olympics, which allows everybody to participate. And certainly there's a lot of progress going on, and maybe over the next 50 years we'll see even a lot more.
So let's bring it now to the current world here, and let's ground ourselves a little bit more here. And let me ask you this final question because I saw that Sarah flash that we're almost at time. So I want to ask you this final question to you all, and that is this: in the next 15 to 20 years from now, okay, and in the near future, we've seen already 2 economic collapses. One because of the pandemic, the other one because of greed that happened at the stock market in the early 2000s. Where do you see society going, especially when money is not collateralized the way it is, and it's based on speculation many times? Do you see us having a good future with money, or are we going to face another economic collapse in the next little while?
Another economic collapse.
Yeah, absolutely. The governments are just borrowing billions upon billions they're just spending money like water. And we should have that phrase in this podcast, just to rescue their societies from COVID. What, is the bill never going to come due? That bill will never be paid? I don't know.
I think there will be an economic collapse in about another 10 years, which will be caused by the introduction of electric cars. Right now, so much of our economy is built around oil. Well, when we don't need as much oil, well, we're going to see what happened this past spring when the price of oil went down to zero. Think of that's going to happen in a world where we're not all on the same level. Saudis depend very heavily on it, and if they don't have it, they're screwed. And so many other oil-based economies, even Canada is dependent on it. Well, 10 years from now, we'll probably have another economic crash, which will probably transition us into something better, and maybe even another 10 years after that. By then, maybe we'll have your world, Mario.
But
Maybe
Sarah,
we're that.
yeah,
You know,
I hope. But Sarah, let me ask you this, and you can combine it with your question too. Would it be better, or could we be facing a world war because of the economic collapse?
No, maybe it will be a total collapse, because I wanted to make a point here. At this point, the United States economy and the world economy, there's $135 trillion of derivative market, which can get affected by interest rate differential. Why do you think they're not increasing the interest rate? If they increase the interest rate, they're going to be big time problems. All those bets, all these derivative bets, $1 trillion bets, they come in due, and then we don't know what's going to happen. Exactly what happened in 2008. So this is a very complicated, run by greed. In 1930 also, how did they make money? Okay, will it rain today or not? They're having a bet. There were bucket shops and all that. It is all greed, which causes all that. But having said that, we are here. Let's enjoy. In the future, it's going to be a cashless society, and it's a transition stage now.
And I agree with that. And I will leave it with my final point over here, and that is basically to say that live within your means, right? And what Al Brown said was very interesting earlier, that many of us are spending beyond our means and are in debt, and we are living from paycheck to paycheck. Live within our means. Try to make sure that you've got enough to survive and not getting yourself into trouble. And hopefully together we will reach that utopian world. If it's not now, it's not 10 years, maybe 100 years from now. Let's make a world in a society that is actually something that we can all be proud of as this generation transitions over to the next generation.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Al Brown, Andrew Wood, and Sarab Sandhu, Mario Kirikides. We'll talk to you guys next time.
The next time.